because I know that I know that I know that I am college bound.
So today I'm joined by Dr. Darlene Willis. Welcome, Dr. Darlene Willis, to Someone You Should Meet.
Well, thank you. I am glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thanks so much for being here. So tell me, first of all, what do you do? Because you're involved with quite a lot of things, aren't you?
I am. Well, I am the co-founder of Concerned Parents Alliance College Bound Programs. And I'm also the president and CEO of Empowering Parents and Families. So I'll start with the Concerned Parent Alliance College Bound Programs. We started in 2001 in our living room. And my husband and I, and we had, our sons were young at the time, and we lived in Poway School District. We purchased a home there, and things weren't going the way we thought they should go in raising two black males.
How do you mean, Darlene? In what way?
Well, they had never had a black teacher before, never had a black counselor, but that particular year, our younger son actually had a black counselor. So we were elated, like they had been here all these years. And then we found out that the counselor was given an ultimatum saying, you either quit or we'll fire you. So we were all in dismay, like, what is going on? And so we sat down and we started calling, my husband and I started calling parents, other black parents in the school district, asking, did you know that ABC is leaving and he's being sort of forced out? And from those conversations, which we thought would take 2 minutes, ended up turning into about an hour per person. And we're thinking, what? And people started talking about all of the challenges they were having. One parent said, my child was told they would get an F if they didn't play the role of a slave in the play that they were having. And it was really, really shocking. And so we found a church that agreed. They opened up their doors. We contacted the superintendent at the time, Don Phillips, and he agreed to come to the church and meet with all of the black families. And it was really an eye-opener. And parents were just saying how they felt that their children were being excluded and they wanted more, what can we do? And in all fairness, Superintendent Phillips, he just sat there and he took it all, because that was probably the first time parents had an opportunity to really vent and to be around parents of like mind.
And these are all black parents with black children in the Poway School District.
Right. Mm-hmm. So some of them were not black, but they were raising black children.
Okay.
So from there, we decided that Don Phillips said he was going to work on it, and he understood and he had heard some of those concerns, and he was going back to his team and telling them, listen, we've got to do better with our black students and families. And my husband and I said, well, while he's doing that, if I have a book that I co-authored, and one of the chapters is be careful when they form a committee to form a task force. And we said, let's just start doing something now. And I was in higher education for 22 years as an administrator, a significant amount of those years. And so I said, we can start our own college-bound programs. And that's what we did. We brought together the parents. We said the district is working on it, but in the meantime, let's bring together the parents. We met once a month. We taught parents how to navigate the educational system. We empowered the young people in believing in themselves. We started an affirmation pledge. It's called, I believe in myself. I love myself. I am the most important person in the world. I can think for myself, so no one will have to tell me what to think. Success will not come to me. I'll have to go and get it. I believe in treating people the way I want to be treated, because I know that I know that I know that I am college bound. So from there, Oceanside School District called, Hayward School District called, and we just started Peoria, Illinois, and we just kind of put the program together and took it on the road. Tracy Unified, yes.
So this was something that was literally born in your living room
right
at home.
There in our living room.
And all of a sudden it's kind of snowballed. And who is it aimed at? Who is College Bound for?
So it's customized. So it really depends. In Poway at the time, majority of the black parents needed it. Mm-hmm. When we went to Oceanside and we work with schools and school districts, they wanted it to be for everyone. So we opened it up to everyone. And it's literally what makes us unique is that we just don't work with students, and we call them scholars. We work with the scholars and their families.
So are we talking high school students here?
Well, we've gone down as early as elementary school, but high school currently is what we're working with from, or at least middle school, 8th through 12th graders and their parents.
And talking about San Diego, which areas in San Diego are you particularly
Poway.
working in? So Poway specifically.
Right. We were in Oceanside for 5 years, and we like to think that we go in, we're not there to stay forever. We try to go in for 4 to 5 years, empower the families so that they know how to navigate the educational system.
So you talk about empowering the families. How do you do that?
So one is what I coined this phrase called paranopoly. And I always relate back to it. I was an avid Monopoly player. I think, the queen of Monopoly. Now, others challenge me on that, but I played it. But I think of it have you ever played Monopoly?
Yes, yeah, my girls love it as
Oh,
well. Yeah, we love
perfect.
Monopoly, yeah.
So here's the thing. If you don't know the rules to Monopoly, you're going to lose every time, right?
Yeah.
So our goal was to make sure that the parents knew the rules. And in order to know the rules, you have to know how to play the game. So Paranopoly is ensuring all of the parents that you've got to wake up. We have to know what it means, who governs the board or the school and the school district. So many parents think, it didn't work when I talked to the counselor, didn't work when I talked to the principal. I don't know what else to do. Well, everybody has a boss, and the ultimate boss is you as the parent. But we don't realize that. And they go, what do you mean? Because that principal reports to a director, that director reports to an associate superintendent, that associate superintendent reports to the superintendent, and the superintendent reports to the board. The school board is the governing body. They are the only ones that can make policy and set policy. But guess what? That school board reports to who? The voters, which includes the parents.
So what if a parent or a family have never had any college experience? They haven't been to college themselves. How do they then navigate this very complicated system on behalf of their child?
And that's what we teach them in our monthly workshops of how to navigate. So we build the self-esteem. We have the parents there. We're teaching the parents how to navigate. So where do you start? And a lot of parents think I drop my child off at kindergarten and I'll pick them back up when they're a senior in high school and we'll be applying for colleges. And I'm thinking and telling them that's not how it's done.
So a lot of parents you're dealing with feel that it's the school's responsibility to get their child ready for university.
Some of them feel that way. And we say, well, it is in a sense, but I've talked to some educators, and the educators are saying our job is to get them to graduate from high school. So then whose job is it to get them to college? And while they're working it out and forming their committees, a parent can take control of your household today. You can start working with your little ones right now of making sure that they have study time. If you allow them to play video games, limiting that, or saying for every 30 minutes on that video game, you're giving me an hour of homework or an hour of studying. We're sitting down at least 2 or 3 times a week at the dinner table, having discussions, not just how was your day, but tell me about your day. What were some of the favorite things of your day? When you go on vacation, don't make it extra, but integrate that. So let's say, I don't know, you're going to Chicago. Mm-hmm. You want to visit all of the institutions or as many as possible while you're there. Start planting that seed early. So
you mean going to visit university campuses?
Right, going to visit campuses, talking to the students, walking around, getting a tour of the campus. All of that can start now. It's just part of your vacation.
Darlene, that all sounds very idealistic and kind of, the gold standard of what we should all be doing as parents. But some of these parents, they may be single parents, they may be working 2 or 3 jobs. How can you support a parent like that in nurturing their child to be college ready? So
I think that's part of the myth, I guess, that people get hung up on in particular schools of saying, well, they're they're come from a single parent, or the mom or dad have to work double jobs. And I guess the first question that I ask parents when they tell me that, Dr. Willis, I'm just so busy, I can't get to things, and I'm working 2 and 3 jobs. And the first question that I ask them is, why are you working 2 and 3 jobs? Are you working 2 and 3 jobs so that you can just afford the rent that you have, your mortgage? Or are you working 2 or 3 jobs so that your child can have the latest cell phone and that you can drive a Mercedes? Really kind of hone in, why are you working 2 and 3 jobs? And if they say, well, I just don't have the skills, so this is the only job I can get, then I say, would you consider maybe having one job and going back to school yourself?
So that's interesting, because I was a single parent, and I put myself back into school. I went and did a master's degree when my girls were 4 and 6. And so, it's exhausting and it's daunting. But one thing that kind of kept me going is, well, my girls. I didn't want to fail for them. I wanted to set a good example that if you set your mind to something, you can do it. And just because there are obstacles, you can still achieve what you want to achieve.
That's right.
But I say that, but it's hard. You're up studying all night. You've got your children to sort, you've still got rent to pay. People still want dinner when you get home. It's tough, and it takes quite a strong, resolute mind to be able to power through that. What, in your case, for example, what inspired you? Because you were the first person in your family to go to university.
Correct. So I come from a family, I'm born and raised in Oakland, California, and I have 5 sisters. We're all a year apart. All our names begin with D's: Deborah, Dawn, Dana, Darlene, Denise, and Diana.
Oh, like my nieces and nephew, they all have names that begin with L's. So yeah.
My mother's twin sister has 5 boys and a girl, and they're all L's.
Oh, that's so funny.
So it's just like a little trend.
Yeah.
But I was the first in my family, and I have something like 36 first cousins on one side and 11 on the other side. Others had the same opportunity. They could have gone, but like in our household, my dad gave us a choice. He says, you can either work, you have a year's grace is what he called it. You could either work or you could go to college.
Was this after high school?
This was after high school.
Yeah.
And I am the 4th. So I was able to see my first 3 sisters. My oldest sister went to a technical college, and then she immediately got a job. The next one actually went to college and then got married. And then the third one went to community college as well. So they had never gone to a 4-year. And I said, I don't want to work. I do not want to work. So I'm going to college.
Did you know what you wanted to do job-wise, though, at that stage?
I thought that I wanted to be a special education teacher. And I applied to 3 colleges, Stanford, UC Irvine, and San Jose State. And San Jose State, I said, I'll go if I get accepted, but I want to see what the other ones, say. But it was really too close to home. I knew that I needed to get out of Oakland.
Okay.
I knew that because I had friends in school that had either died or they were pregnant, and I knew that I needed to get out of Oakland.
Wow. So you needed to leave that environment.
I needed to leave the environment. And
so how hard was it then? You're just briefly touching upon the environment you were brought up in. How hard was it you to stay focused then when there were obviously, I don't know whether easy is the right word, but there were other avenues, other options that, no one would have kind of batted an eyelid had you have taken one of those other routes. How did you stay so focused?
You know what? I think because my parents, next month, on February 5th, we'll celebrate with them 60 years of marriage.
Wow.
And even though my mom was a stay-at-home mom with us until my youngest sister was in kindergarten, and then she got a job with the school district so that she could be off the same time that we were off. See, she thought outside of the block, outside of, she knew this was something, which is what every parent wants. We want our children to have a better life than us.
Sure.
We just have to figure out how do we make that happen. So they always instilled in all of us that college was an option if we decided. I just knew I had a cousin named Kenny, and he's like a third cousin, but he went to Stanford, and he would take us to Stanford, and I love Stanford because they had a bowling alley. That wasn't the real deal. Because in my community, bowling was a big thing that working families did. they would, we would have our bowling leagues with our cousins and our uncles and aunts, and we would bowl against each other. And back then it wasn't as expensive. And so when I went to visit Stanford and he took me, I'm like, a bowling alley. Wow.
So the bowling alley
The
sold
bowling
it
alleys
for
were
you.
sold it. But then UC Irvine in my junior year had a program called the Peer Counseling Program, and I was a peer counselor. They flew us to UC Irvine.
So what was that then? What was that program about?
It was where you counsel with your counsel, and I say counsel lightly, with your peers about how they're doing and things that you can help them do. So they flew, I don't know, about 5 or 6 of us to Irvine for the weekend, and I loved the campus. So I knew I had 3 options, and it would allow me to leave home. I mean, we lived in a 2-bedroom home with 1 bathroom.
And how many children? How many
6
people?
girls in 1 bathroom, 6 girls in 1 bedroom, 3 sets of bunk beds, a bathroom in between, and my mom and dad had their bedroom.
Wow.
And we made
What
it
was
work.
the most difficult
You know what?
thing about that? Because that was a really full house.
That's all I knew. So it was loving memories. I know that I would get up early in the morning, about 5 in the morning, and that's when I did my homework, and that's when I studied. Because our house was always full. So I knew that I'd have to do something different. Now, at 7:30, 8 o'clock, I was in bed because I knew that I needed to get my rest.
So even from a young age, how old would you have been then when you were getting up at 5 and going to bed at that time?
Ooh, I would say in elementary school.
Wow.
Yeah, because I needed to get my work done. And we'd come home from school, 6 girls chattering, and my mom's getting everything done. Or, my mom would cook. She would sew for us our clothes. And then everybody had friends. And my mom and dad are the most popular aunt and uncle. So they would all cousins come over. So I'm like, I can't study in this environment. It had to be quiet. And it was perfect.
So that's an interesting point, actually, because how much of a responsibility is it for the parent to, no matter how chaotic the house may be, ensure that their child does have that quiet and that privacy so they can study?
Well, I think that's where it comes in as a parent. We know our children the best.
Yeah.
We know everything about our children. And even though we may come from the same DNA, we're still different in our own ways. So my mom and dad recognize that. And they always nurtured us. We may not have had, the latest clothing but we had so much love and so much fun that you felt supported to do whatever you wanted to do. So I say you don't have to have a lot of money for this to take place. And I quite frankly, and I think this college admission scandal kind of proves that point, that even the rich, their children aren't getting in. Many of them were buying their way in.
So I wanted to ask you about that, actually. You've kind of brought it up earlier than I was going to kind of ask you. But that's interesting because how has that scandal, very rich, elite parents buying their way into universities, how does that impact the opposite end of the spectrum? Some of the families that you're dealing with, how do they feel when they read and hear about, people buying their way into colleges?
Well, I can tell you that I spent majority of my career in higher education, and I was not surprised by that.
Why?
It's just because the public just became known. I mean, I truly believe and have seen some examples in some of the institutions I work with or some colleagues that worked in there.
Like what? Give me some examples.
That it's always been known, this sort of unknown legacy status. They went there, their children are going to go there, and they have a building named after them, or everybody knows they're one of the biggest donors and the red carpet is laid out. That did not surprise me. It surprised me that they were caught and they became so sloppy with it. But it's been happening for decades.
So
the
what-
haves and the have-nots.
So what do universities need to do then to stamp that out?
Universities need to be consistent, and they need to put in rules or policies so that a president or any of the administrators could lean upon that and say, hey, I wish I could, but you need to sign a document. There is no guarantee your child's going to get in if you give me enough money to support this program. I think, and then they need to just hold people accountable. And look at the message. Those that have been gone to trial, I guess, and been convicted,
Mm-hmm.
the punishment, the consequence isn't anything major. So in our society alone, I think there's the haves and the have-nots, and so you have to be ready. It's controversial, but to me, if your child is working hard enough, they're getting good grades, they're doing what they're supposed to do, there is a college or university out there. If I were a child, I'd be embarrassed that my parents thought that I wasn't smart enough, that you had to go and, rub palms with someone else to get
Buy
me
your
in.
way in. Yeah.
Right. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair. But I could see, and it's been happening for years. This is just the first time that it's come to light.
So, on the flip side of that, what would you say to people who say that, minorities, people from a lower economic background, it's actually they have an advantage over maybe your regular middle class white kid when it comes to getting into universities because they need to meet a quota? How is that fair from a white middle class kid's background? How is that fair?
Right. Well, first of all, they don't call it quotas anymore because of the Prop 209.
Okay. So what is it? How would you refer to that now?
So I think what it is, it's not necessarily a black-white thing anymore. It is socioeconomic. I think many of these institutions are offering, come here if you got below this income, you can come on a full ride, or, we'll excuse this. Quite frankly, I'm grateful that they're doing that. However, I think they're doing that because they know that the chances of someone in that background may or may not take advantage of that opportunity. I really believe that the working families, and you could be white, black, any color, we're getting the shaft in this go round and I just recently testified before the UC presidential search, gave a testimony on behalf of my nonprofit, and then I have brought together 25 plus community-based organizations here in San Diego. And one of the things that we talked about was, of course, making sure that there was diversity, that these institutions, especially the public ones, should reflect the demographics of this country or the state or of the city that they're in, because our public tax dollars go toward those public institutions. Now, there are a lot of select institutions that think that they're private, and they have to be reminded that they're not. But
like Stanford, give me examples. Who are you referring to when you say that?
So when San Diego State, wonderful institution, they have to be reminded. So does UCSD. So does UC Berkeley, UCLA, that they are public institutions, which means that they're for the people, that the people's tax dollars goes toward the running of those institutions. Now, the UCs, because they are fantastic institutions as well, they get a lot of grant dollars, research grant dollars, but still, your taxes, my taxes, goes toward those universities. So we have to open up a way where we include everyone. And in the testimony, one of the things that I mentioned was that I was concerned that we just recently found out that many of the UC institutions, which are public, are now decreasing the amount of merit-based scholarships. So I have a concern with that because there's a difference. The difference between a need-based and a merit-based.
So just explain in more detail, so that we're all kind of on the same page.
Okay, so need-based are those that are low income, certain income that the family makes. Merit-based are based on your academics. It doesn't matter if your parents make $1 million a year or if they make $5,000 a year. It doesn't matter. And now all the attention, a lot of the institutions, in my view, are moving toward, we can get money for low-income students, those poor students. The merit-based are supposed to be for everyone, and it doesn't matter your income. But if those scholarships are going away, And that's so important to reinstate those scholarships, because we're telling our children, study hard, do well, get straight A's, do your best, and then they still can't get a scholarship. They can get into the institution, but there's no money to follow. And as parents, in particular working parents, we may look great on paper. And then you do your financial aid and they tell you that your estimated family contribution is $15,000, and you go, okay, well, $15,000 for 4 years. No, that's $15,000 a year. And you're thinking, I don't have an extra $15,000. What should I do about that? How do I fix that? And then what happens is the scholar or the parents say, I know you've done really well. You've got a 4.5 and you got into 22 institutions, but none of them are really offering any money. So I think Dad and I are just asking you, can you sacrifice, stay at home, and go to the local community college and then transfer over?
So you feel that merit-based students are being treated unfairly?
Well, I think there's certainly, because some are getting full rides, so I don't want to just talk for everyone, but I think it's certainly worth exploring the option of how many merit-based scholarships do these institutions now have.
That's interesting. I just want to get your thoughts on this. According to a report by the American Council on Education that came out last February 2019, students of colour now make up more than 45% of undergraduates, which is good. But black students, they still have a higher dropout rate. Why is that? What's your take on that?
You know, I've seen similar reports, and out of all of the categories of the underrepresented, Black and Native American, I believe, are the most underrepresented. Now, like with my nonprofit, we can get people into college because we start working with you early. We know the college requirements. We're very much familiar with it. Some institution or some high schools focus on just getting you out of high school, and you work out the rest. I think it is very unfortunate, and I think that our ancestors are turning over in their graves.
How do you mean?
Because they worked so hard. Many could not even, if they learned to read, they would have been, hung on a tree. And now to see, here we are in 2020, and our Black scholars are not progressing the way that they should.
Why do you think that is, though? What reasons are there for that?
You know what? That's $1 million question, and if I had it, I would trademark it and sell it somewhere. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no I think, and I don't want to make, because this is a generic statement. I think the problem with public education is that there is one set formula. Occasionally you'll have a teacher that'll come in and, let's do the ABCs a little differently than we used to, but most of them, and they're trained to do things one way. This is the curriculum. This is the standard. If you have a parent and they're irate, this is how to deal with them. We work in a reactive mode. And I think what happens in the Black community is we're only called up to the school if our child is in trouble. And all schools need to be proactive and not reactive. And we need to have people that look like us. We just met with Poway. Their entire cabinet came out to our College Bound meeting last night. And that came up. And only, I think it's 2.5% of Black students in Poway Unified. And because there aren't places now where Black people gather together or live amongst each other in the San Diego area, but there is one place where you can catch a lot of Black people, and that's on a Sunday morning at a church. So how do we get our churches more engaged? How do we get parents to understand, look at this data. This is what the data is telling us. How do we change that to get them? And that's why I think our program is so successful, because we share the data and we let them know, okay, they increased by 4%, but what does that mean? 15 students? And when districts say to me, well, we only have 2% Black students, and I say, Well, that should be easy for you to resolve then, because you have less students. Why not pilot programs with that community and see how it works for the masses? You can't just forget about the community. And I don't think that they do. And Poway is an excellent school district, excellent school district. So I don't want to down them, because if we looked at Del Mar, Coronado, we'd see the same data when you disaggregate it. But I can't say, or nor do I feel comfortable saying what that issue is, but I can say what I try to do is to either work with your schools, the districts, or travel around the country telling parents, and this is not just black parents, but because I'm black, people always think that, but it's time to wake up. It's time to take back control of your household and ensure that your child has the choice of attending college. The schools can work on them, the school districts can work on them, but it's a bureaucratic system, so it's going to take a while. It might help our great-grandchildren, but what do you do for your household? What does Claire do to make sure that her 2 daughters are going to college?
So tell me, what should I be doing? What should parents be doing to make sure that their children are mentally believing in themselves that they can get to college if that's what they want to do?
You should be engaged at all times, which means that you're going to have to be up at that school other than back to school nights. I think back to school nights should just disappear.
Why?
Because there's no use of it. By the time you get there and you're switching classes, you only have especially when you go to middle school and high school, maybe elementary a little bit better, but you only have a few minutes, right? And then the teacher introducing themselves says this is what's going to happen, and then there's always Miss Susie who raises her hand first, and she asks a long question, and then ding, parents, please move forward to the next class. And you don't get to know anything. So if you go, then I always tell parents, you prepare a card, say, I am Johnny's mom, here's my contact information. He is on a track to go to college. I need you to let me know of everything you think of. I want to be in constant contact with you. Is email best? Is texting you? What is the best method for me? I will be sitting in the classroom. I want to be an engaged parent. And I'll give you an example of this. Our youngest son went to a school in Poway, in middle school. I worked at the university, and we had an opportunity to take our family to China. We went to China over the summer. It was a wonderful trip. We learned a lot, came back. Well, his class was studying the Great Wall of China when he returned. And it was a white teacher, and she was going over the lesson plan, and my son said, that's not right. And she said, what? That's not right. And he says, well, excuse me, but I went to China and I learned that this is what happens. And she said, she stopped. He's the only black boy in the class. And she says, you went to China this summer? Yeah, right.
Wow.
So the tongue is so powerful. But thank God, my husband and I have trained our sons. You let us know stuff immediately. Then I, of course, went up to that school and dealt with that teacher. So, why can't he go to China?
So therefore, it's crucial that the parent and the child have an open line of communication.
Absolutely.
So a parent needs to be able to facilitate that.
That's right.
One thing I wanted to get your thoughts on, which I love about my daughter's school. So they go to one of the elementary schools in the Del Mar Union School District. And right from kindergarten, those children are taught positive, mental... what am I trying to say? Just kind of positivity right from the word go. They are college bound. Every single one of those students can get to college if they want to. That is every morning they have, they live by something called the 8 keys of excellence, which include things like integrity, balance, failure leads to success, which is a great one. Failure leads to success. It's okay to fail. Failure is good. That's right. It's encouraged because you're learning. And every one of those children believe that they can go to university.
That is
and
excellent.
So, and that is the biggest thing I love about that school. So already, My girls are coming home talking about university. They're 9 and 11. And so then it's easier for me to carry on that conversation and to tap into that positive mindset. It's easier for me because it's already been instilled at school. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? And how do you feel that other schools should carry on with regards to really instilling that positivity in children?
Absolutely. I think that is key. When we first moved here from the Bay Area, our sons went to, La Costa Canyon.
Okay.
Very elite area. And they said it was back to school night, and they said, get there early. Now, both our sons, the only black kids in the class, and I said, oh, okay. I got there a few minutes early, but I had to park down the street. Parents galore. In the classroom, my son's 5th grade teacher says, actually moms are sitting at the desk, dads are standing behind them, and the teacher says, parents, please stop asking me to volunteer. I have enough volunteers. Try the library. That moment clicked in my head wow. They had a book fair that night. They had an ice cream social. PTA was making a lot of money that night. It was amazing. During the day, parents walking kids, same thing happens in Del Mar. They're walking their children to school. So you know that they're stay-at-home moms or dads these days, right? It starts young. Los Pian Elementary and Poway Unified School District is another hidden secret. Every classroom is named after a university. And so when they call maybe they say, Edward, report to Harvard University. Right? And Harvard University might be the office, but how wonderful does that feel? So in elementary, I think it starts that way. And just what you said, the 8 keys of excellence. Poway used to have that too. Then they transition to middle school. And let me back up a little bit. A parent, when you're taking your child to school, especially kindergarten, you're very excited, right? What's your daughter's name?
So my eldest is Sophia, my youngest is Eva.
Okay, so Eva starts kindergarten tomorrow. Oh my word. You're so excited. You go out and you buy a backpack and you get you don't even need supplies, but you get them anyway. And this is what your sister had. And okay, call grandma, tell her where you're going tomorrow. And you're videotaping and you take off work because you're so excited that Eva is going to kindergarten. The teacher has to say, parents, can you kind of go so we can work with them?
Can you leave now?
Can you leave now? And you get excited and then you wait and they come out and you're going through their backpack. And when they get home and you're like, you have homework. Yeah. That goes on in elementary, right? Lesson every year gets a little lesson. Okay, you're in 5th grade now. Come on. You should have known this. We did this in 3rd grade. This is your project. Then they transition from elementary to middle school. You're still excited. Oh my God, I cannot believe. What's your oldest daughter's name?
Sophia.
I cannot believe Sophia is starting middle school. Oh my goodness. Okay, we need to go out. We've got to get some clothes because now you're in middle school. You got to dress and, now we've got your backpack. Everything's cool. You're going to get a locker. You go to the orientation. You're all excited. Then Sophia moves on to 8th grade. You still excited? She's going to high school. Oh my word. But then the parents' comments become, listen here, you're in 10th grade now. I'm not going to sit here with you. I'm tired. I had to work all day today. I had to work through the weekend. Your sister had soccer. Get it done. Figure it out. And we become less and less engaged. And our kids no longer, whereas before, come on, Sophia, and we're able to grab hands and talk and laugh Mom, not in middle school.
So how do you keep that communication open then? How do you, because it's hard, middle school and high school, they're challenging years, puberty. How do you
have to be in their business, Claire.
And what does that look like though?
That means that many parents allow their children they're in their room, the door is closed, and she said, I can't come in. Who's running your household? Sophia's running your household? Right? What do you mean I can't come in? Do you pay the mortgage? Do you contribute to the rent? Well, she said she didn't want to talk. So you have that same communication where you have that open communication in elementary has to move forward to middle school and high school. And in high school it becomes a little bit more difficult because the influence, same in middle school actually, the influence of their peers.
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure is alive and real. And, you know, sometimes I tell parents, you got to check some birthmarks. Is that my child? Because they're going to do things. But if they think that, I'm sorry, I'm not cutting because my mom just pops up at the school. And I know the consequence of that. Right? And so you have to stay engaged. Mothers and daughters are going to clash. Fathers and sons are going to clash. And we have to be able to say to our children, I love you, but I don't like you right now. So I need a little space because if I were to talk to you right now, it would not be a good situation for you. So we'll talk again. And then I say this to all parents. I don't care if you're rich or poor, white, black, it doesn't matter. A parent's responsibility, these are gifts that we're given our children. So we have to let them know that I'm going to love you regardless. I may not like you at the time. I may not like some of your actions, but I'm always going to love you. You can come to me with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the reason that parents or responsible adults have to do this, and I say, if I were to say to you, Claire, you just came from the doctor, and the doctor just told you that you had 6 weeks to live to get your business in order. Would your 2 girls be okay without you? And some parents go, well, I got a nice life insurance. But if you haven't taught them how to value $1,
So you're talking about life skills.
skills.
Yeah.
Which means you're all up in the mix. There's no such thing as a privacy in the house. I want to know everything. And sometimes it's hard. They come to you, especially girls, I want to have sex with somebody. How do you deal with that when they're 11? Mm-hmm. And you want to just go, oh my God. But you have to keep a face. I'm glad you came. So glad you came to me. Let's talk about that. What does that look like? But if they feel they can't come to us, oh, my mom, oh my God, she would go off on me. We don't even discuss that. Then that's where that gap comes in. And that's where they lie about their grades. They lie about anything that they think might impact you.
So going back to the College Bound program, so tell me what that looked like. So start that again. So going back to the College Bound program, tell me, talk me through the journey. So what age are the kids when you really start kind of taking them under your wing and introducing them to college?
So we have contracts with schools or school districts, and every program is different. So we've gone as young as elementary, middle school, or high school, or a combination of all three. Our current College Bound in Poway is 9th through 12th graders and their parents.
Okay.
And we 8th through 12th grade. We do
8th
have
through
some
12th.
8th graders.
Okay.
And so we only meet once a month. We only have them once a month. If I had a school and we had them every day, I wouldn't have numbers like some of these schools have.
So what do you do? So you meet once a month, and because you're only meeting once a month, what do you manage to cram into that?
So we meet together as a village. And in that village, they give bragging rights. The seniors talk about where they applied to college, where they got accepted. We had a scholar last night that's already gotten 16 offers in college.
Wow.
Yes. We talk about their grades. We do our self-reliance pledge. And then we break into our different sessions. So according to your grade level, you go to your class with your College Bound teacher. And we focus on learning skills, studying skills, time management, believing in yourself, community service. We do customized college tours with them.
So I was going to ask you about that. So tell me, which universities do you go to?
Oh, we've been all over. We even went to London one year.
Oh, did you?
New York,
Wow.
Yeah, New York, London, and Paris.
Wow.
Because
whereabouts in
UC
London did you go?
Now, I
Oh,
knew you were
okay.
gonna ask me
Yeah.
that. I don't remember exactly where. But
Did you have fish and chips?
I don't remember if we had fish and chips. I know I went on the Eye.
Oh, the London Eye's great.
Yes. Oh
Great
my
view
God.
from there.
It was beautiful.
Did you do the palace? Buckingham
We did
Palace?
the Buckingham
Yeah.
Palace, and we tried to make the guard laugh, and people got mad at us.
Oh yeah, you'll never be able to do
No,
that.
we got a little smile.
Did
got
you?
A little smile out of the guy.
I've got a cute photo of my girls next to one of the guards at Buckingham Palace because when we lived in England, we'd go to London a few times a year,
Yes.
and it was cute. They were at either side of this guard, and he was like trying to look really stern. It was really quite cute.
Yeah, it was good. So we did all
Wow.
of that.
Yeah.
And we've gone to over 300 colleges
Gosh.
and universities. This April, we're going to Nevada and Arizona. And
Who chooses the universities?
usually I choose them, but based on feedback from the scholars and their parents and the staff. Okay, where have we not been this year? One year we went to Chicago, went to Oregon, and Washington. So we try to we've gone on the East Coast before, we've gone to historical black colleges and universities before, so every year it changes. This year we're going to Western undergraduate exchange programs, the WUI schools, that give a considerable discount to California residents to go to their schools.
Okay, so it's cheaper to attend those schools.
Yes.
Now we've got one of the videos playing in the background.
Oh, yes.
What is the reaction like of the students when they, rock up at some university campus?
They love it because, see, our tours, you see, they're customized. So we have, because I worked in higher ed, I have colleagues there. And so we call ahead and they most times provide lunch for us. So this is at Azusa Pacific.
Yeah.
And you see the guys talking to us. They meet with admissions people. Sometimes they waive their tuition fees. Sometimes we are able to get the presidents of the universities to come and speak to them. It is amazing. And our kids then do the self-reliance pledge, and you could just hear the quietness of when they do it. And so this is the director of admissions at the time, who used to be a counselor of mine when I was at UC Irvine, is now at she was at University of Laverne. She just retired a couple of years ago.
The lady here that was
Sharon
singing
Cruz
this,
McKinney. So see, all of our scholars, they all have on the same. There's no issue with how you're going to dress. You're going to wear college bound attire.
What percentage of your scholars, I like that you call them scholars, that's a nice name. What percentage of them go on to university?
100% of them
So
have the choice of attending college.
Okay, so this is important. So there's a difference. So you're saying that 100% of them have the choice. What do you mean by that?
So in order to be eligible for a 4-year college or university, you must fulfill what we call in California the A through G college requirements. Have you heard that before? The term.
Yes.
So those are 15 to 18 courses. And, A is for history and social science, B is for English, C is for math, D is for laboratory science, E is for language other than English, F is for visual and performing arts, and G is for college preparatory electives. Only 15 to 18 courses that you need. Yet, in the state of California, it averages about 35% of our scholars are A through G eligible, which means that they don't have a choice.
But why? Why not? How does that work?
Well, some school districts, like San Diego Unified, in all fairness to them, they have A through G, their curriculum, as a default. But it's not truly a default, and I tell you why. Because in their plan, their 4-year plan, you can still earn a D. In the college world, a D is an F, and it does not count. So while they're closer, and I think San Jose does this as well, they're closer to fulfill an A through G, but if they get a D in that subject, it doesn't count.
So how are high schools able to get away with that? Because how are they preparing their kids for college if they're not offering the right subjects?
Well, there are some schools that do not, I hear what you're saying, that do not, especially in San Diego County, that do not offer the right subjects. This is where the parent must know A through G for themselves and say, how is it that Johnny is off roll for 2 classes and he's a senior now, but in his 9th grade year, he earned 2 Ds. Why isn't he taking those classes over?
So parents do have the power to be able to change their children's direction educationally.
Absolutely. I tell all parents you should meet with the counselors immediately.
But what do parents do if they are at a school like that isn't kind of fulfilling their college credentials? Like, what can they do?
Well, they can have them go to the local community colleges. This is where I think community colleges can help. They have what they call dual enrollment or concurrent enrollment, where you take community college courses. In institutions of higher ed, love that, because that now tells me that, you went to, let's say, I don't know, Mira Mesa College. You went there and you got an A in sign language. That tells the colleges that you can handle college work. So you could utilize that. There's a community college in the Bay Area. If you go one semester for American Sign Language, it counts for a year. So 2 semesters would be 2 years. That takes that off the plate in terms of fulfilling A through G. But it's the best kept secret. So parents have to be engaged to know about these opportunities, or to be able to say to the counselor, no, they will not teach, the TA for you. They still have to fulfill the A through G college requirements.
So you're saying 100% of your scholars have the option of going to college.
That's right.
How many actually do go on to college?
I would say about 89, go to college. Are you including 2-year community college or 4-year only?
So let's start with a 4-year.
Okay.
Who goes on to complete a 4-year
About
undergrad?
95% of them go to a 4-year
Wow.
college or university.
That's impressive.
Yes, because that's what we push every month and throughout the month, that you want to have the choice of attending. Now, 5% or so, 7% or so are eligible to attend, but the parent stops them from attending.
Why?
They say, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. Because they have not planned financially, or even if they did, I talked with somebody the other day saying, oh no, we've had a 529 plan for a long time. But when they looked at it again, it's not even enough to cover the fee to the institutions.
So is that something that your organisation provides as well, like assistance to parents when it comes to financial planning for university?
We don't do financial planning, but we'll bring in some experts that are experts in it. I mean, I can do FAFSA in my sleep now because we've done it so much, the financial aid form that you need in order to qualify.
Well, which is what? Just briefly, I know you're not a financial planner, but just briefly kind of explain that to people that may not be familiar.
So it used to be by hand you had to do it. Now everything is online. You'll need, your income taxes, not for this year, but the prior year. They've changed it in the last rule. So now you can use your prior year income taxes. You need the social security numbers. A lot of the scholars don't even know their social security numbers. Their mother has it hidden somewhere in a drawer. And then that becomes an issue because the one they've been using doesn't match. If you have any assets, that will have to go on there, but not your home.
Okay.
That your mortgage is in, that one is not, you don't have to list that. But if you have rental property and things of that, you have to list that. And a lot of the parents that are well-to-do say, well, there's no need of me filling that out because my kid's not going to qualify. It's going to come back telling me that I have to pay $25,000. Some of the working parents go, well, yeah, I'll fill it out. We'll see what happens. The low-income parents are like, oh, I got to find those forms. Where are they? But the bottom line with the FAFSA is the FAFSA doesn't give you money. Once you complete the FAFSA, that entity then sends it out to the institutions of where you want to apply. But the most important part of the FAFSA for a parent is what they call an EFC, expected family contribution. So let's say you do one, Claire, and it says your expected family contribution is $20,000. Mm-hmm. That means that you are expected to pay $20,000 a year toward your child's college life for that year. So the institution, when they're putting together your financial aid package, will be all of the money that it costs to go there, with the exception of your $25,000 that says that you have to pay toward their contribution. But here's the caveat. If they qualify for a merit-based scholarship, it doesn't matter how much money you make.
Why?
Because it's based on their academics. It's based on, so they're getting a full ride. When my son went to Morehouse, he received an academic scholarship for his GPA. Then he received what they call a Bonner Scholarship for his community service efforts. So we didn't have to pay a dime for him to go to Morehouse College.
So grades matter. If you can get into university on a merit-based situation, it's kind of a win-win. Can I just ask you, what about the students or the scholars that don't want to go to university? University just isn't a good fit for them. What does their future look like? What are their options?
Oh, there's so many options, and that's fair. And I tell parents and scholars, you may not want to go to a 4-year university. So there's 6 paths that I believe, and then this is what we teach, that you can choose. One is a 4-year college or university, which is the one that our College Bound programs makes as a priority. The second one is a 2-year community college. Nothing wrong with going to a 2-year community college. But if you're going to go, we recommend that you go away from home, away from your high school, because otherwise it becomes a continuation of your high school. Everybody's sitting in the student union playing dominoes or cards, all the people you went to high school with. So go somewhere else.
Okay.
And then parents set them up. There are community colleges that have dormitories, or res halls as they call them. There's one right there in Sacramento called Sierra College. The scholars live on campus.
So you think it's really important to get that kind of university life?
Absolutely.
Fly
Because
the
that's
nest.
what gets you engaged. And otherwise you'd be like, I think I'm just going to go home because I don't know anybody, etc. So that's the second path. Third path is a vocational career technical program. Nothing wrong with that. We need more plumbers. If you're going to work from a plumbing company, that's fine. Work for a little bit. Learn everything about it. Then own your own plumbing company. I don't know if you ever had any plumbing issues, but when the plumbers come, oh my gosh.
Don't talk
what
to
are
me
you
about.
paying $90 an hour
Oh,
for them just to look at
ridiculous,
it?
ridiculous. Yeah.
So
yeah.
why not own a plumbing company?
Yeah.
Why not own a basketball team?
There's definitely money to be made in
Right.
in those types of things for sure.
Right.
The trades, plumbing, building.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of people want to be athletes now. And I'm not anti-sports. My nephew plays for the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, wow.
And I love watching him play and everything. And he walked it, talked it, everything when he was this age. And he made it to the NFL. And so that's the vocational career tech. But I say, okay, if you cannot be a football player, because only 1.6% actually go on to the NFL. But you can utilize it to get a scholarship to college, whether it be track, basketball, baseball, whatever, if that's going. But you got to be disciplined because they still have to get good grades. If you want to play sports, then you have to go to college. If you want to play professional sports, there are no more Kobe Bryants where you get to come out of high school.
Yeah, you see, that's very different from the UK because a lot of our professional footballers, soccer players in England, they don't go through the university system. They go to academies from a very young age. So they don't have anything to fall back on. They haven't got degrees, a lot of them. So it's very different. And so here, it very much is the case that if you're good at a sport, that's the way you get into university.
Right.
And maybe this is for kind of a different conversation, but I know that, as you've said, only a very small percentage of those that even get into university for a sport will ever go on to being drafted in the NFL, for example.
That's right.
So what happens to them?
Right. You have to have a backup plan.
Absolutely.
And that's maybe where that vocational career tech program can come in. The fourth one is joining the military. Go in as an officer.
We're obviously in a military town as well, aren't we?
Right.
San Diego's a
military town, but it's a little scary right now because we don't know what's going to happen. But one of our college-bound students, she finished her undergraduate at Spelman College, received her degree. Then she is now in medical school. And guess what? She just, maybe about 6 months ago, joined the Navy. She's an officer. And they will pay every dime for her medical school.
Okay.
Now, she's going to have to give back, but that's okay. So that's the fourth one. Those are the first 4 paths. The fifth one is and I always ask parents, which path are you nurturing? The fifth one is going to jail.
Going to jail?
Going to jail or prison.
Okay.
It's a path. If you're nurturing that path and buying, they come to the door, oh, that's Johnny, he got stolen goods, and you're buying that, and you're saying that's okay, and you might be stealing here, or your child is watching, And that's the path that you're nurturing. You go to the store and you know you didn't buy that toy. And you come home, what are you doing with that toy? Sophie, where'd you get that from? Oh, I just picked this bow up. And if you say, oh, wow, good for you. Mama didn't have to pay $5 for that. You're nurturing. You could possibly be nurturing that jail or prison path. Versus, really, let's get back in the car and you're going to give that back. And you're going to tell the lady that you stole it. Because we do not allow that in our household. Right? The last path, and we hope no one ever has to go through it, but we know it's a reality. And that's dying too young before your time.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning the youngsters that we're going to the funerals that are being killed, murdered, joining gangs, making bad decisions, and they end up at the graveyard.
So, again, it's all down to breaking that habit, instilling positive mental kind of visions in your children.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Traveling, getting them to see off of their block.
Sure. Widening their approach.
That's right.
Yeah, which ties into what you were saying about how crucial it is for children to move away from home,
That's
to
right.
go out to university rather than stay living in the home environment and traveling. And on a final point, how has the college system changed in the years that you've been involved with it?
Wow. Well, it's becoming more and more, the public institutions are becoming more and more challenging to be admitted. It's almost like a name brand, like some of the selective UCs or Cal States, the Ivy Leagues, they have become the brand name.
There's certainly snobbery around brand names here, much more so
Absolutely.
than in the UK. I mean, we have our top universities, Cambridge, Oxford, but other than that, I mean, I went to a top university, but there isn't the snobbery attached. Whereas here, I noticed that is which university did you go, which college did you go to,
Right.
and it kind of earns you. Even when it comes to a job interview scenario, people will leapfrog the other if they happen to have gone to a more prestigious public school, even.
And you think, though, there's over 5,000 colleges and universities. And some of those big ones, or the ones that are known, may not even be what you like. They may not even fit your character. And so you have to research that. But when you look at institutions that are receiving something like 150,000 applications to admit a class of maybe 16,000, that will your yield may be 8,000 for a freshman class. The competition, there's more no's than there are yeses. And I say to parents, go see them. Go and see them, because a website could look great. When have you ever known a website to look terrible?
Yeah.
When have you ever known that? You're paying people to keep your website so that it looks the greatest. But go and see it. And beyond, when they start getting in middle school and high school, they all have college programs. Right? For children, scholars. So go and stay a week. And maybe it's $2,000, but maybe they're a junior and they've been saying, I want to go to this college. Like my son really wanted to go to Morehouse. I really want to go to Morehouse. I said, fine. They have a summer program. You're going to go for it. And it was a 3-week summer program where he went and lived there and loved it.
And how old was he when he did that?
He was a junior.
A junior. Okay.
Our other son said he wanted to go to North Carolina A&T. Sent them, and my best friend's son went as well. My son said, I like this. I want to go there. And the classes that they took for I think that was 6 weeks. He got college credits. And so he went in with credits, right? But then my friend's son said, I don't think I want to go here. So that was a well worth investment, because you were able to see this isn't for me.
Where did your sons end up, Darlene?
North Carolina A&T
Yeah.
and Morehouse College.
And what are they doing now?
They're both working with me in the business and helping me empower scholars and parents, telling their stories.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, tomorrow, our youngest son, he loves traveling. He's a world traveler. So he's in Brazil right now as we speak.
Oh, what's he doing there?
He wants some of his college buddies. They all decided that they were going to go to Brazil.
Well, Edward, our producer, he spent lots of time in Brazil, so yeah.
I should have connected Edward with James. He's having a ball.
Where's he at right now?
I don't know exactly. Well, maybe Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah, tell him to pop me some on Facebook.
Oh,
Get 'em all
okay.
connected.
He's leaving tonight. He's been there all
Oh,
week. He's been
okay.
there all week.
Get him.
Ah.
Text me, you remember this? No, this isn't it. Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
So the other thing I think I just want to mention that as parents, the reason we also need to be engaged is because there's so much stress on those students that are doing very well. It used to be that the highest you can get a GPA is a 4.0. You have kids now that can earn a 5.0. We had kids in our college bound program that earned a 5.0.
Wow.
And that means that you're taking serious classes, AP courses, and I think it's too much. And I think that that may be what's contributing. I'm not saying totally, but contributing to the mental health challenges we're having. We have kids that get up at 4 in the morning. They're sleep deprived. They're getting ready. They have homework from the AP. Just if you want to take in like an A push or something, they'll tell you, well, you're going to be working in the summer. There's no breaks. They cannot be children.
So that comes back to the whole balance thing, which is what I love about my daughter's school, because they are taught balance. That's one of the 8 keys of excellence. And they're taught to balance their work, their family, their activities, all of that. So it's so important that we instill that at a young age, isn't it? Because then when, things do snowball and you are getting older and your work load increases, you are in a good mindset to be able to deal with that.
That's right. But just be ready that it may change a little bit in middle school and change more in high school. And we don't know why that is. Well, yes, we do. The peer pressure. So that's why it's important on a social level that you put your family must be surrounded of other families of like mind. And that's what our college bound programs do. There are families of like mind. They're not always, so-and-so might be having some issues, bad grades or whatever it might be, but we're talking about it. We're dealing with it.
That reminds me of a book that I read, a great book when my girls were younger, called The Rhinoceros Book of Success. And it's one that was written, years ago, but it's basically exactly that concept. It's, you surround yourselves with lions and tigers.
That's right.
You will become one of those people. You will succeed. But if you surround yourselves with, sloths and jackals, then you are a product of your
That's
environment. And it's the same kind of concept.
That's right. In the black community, there's a saying that if you lay down with dogs, you're going to get up with fleas.
Yeah, I like it. Exactly.
And
the
that
same
is
thing.
exactly
Yeah.
But in some cases, even that's why I don't want people to think that this educational crisis is just for low income. I have all kinds of income people in our programs, but even the high income parents are having issues with controlling their children. The children are rebelling so bad. They're like, I don't understand this. I've given you everything. And I say, that's the problem. We give them everything and they don't earn anything. So if I'm given everything, then that's all I'm used to. I've now created a monster, not on purpose. And that's why I don't recognize who my child is.
What do you think about paying children to do chores? So that's what I've started doing with my girls. They have a chore board and things like making their beds, unloading the dishwasher, taking the dog out, and they get paid for it. And if they don't do it, they don't get paid. And so what do you think about, something as basic as that?
Well, I'm not sure I'm convinced that paying them financially is the way.
Okay, so
Because I
what would you think
think
is a better...
Well, I think back to this, that one, you should be doing it because I said that this is what we all are going to contribute to this household. And what you get for that is that mommy is paying the rent here. Mommy is paying the mortgage. Mom is going to work every day. But I do believe in the chore chart and maybe on a point system. And so you sit down at the beginning and maybe you do it quarterly. And you say, what are some things that you would like to do? Okay, if you do all of your chores, then on every second Friday, you get to choose what meal you want, whether you want us to go out or, spaghetti is your favorite. That's what we're cooking because you did great all week. And include the academics in that. So that means study time, decreasing your video time. All of that is part of it. If you're going to do the financial piece, then what are they doing with that money? Are they saving it? Do they get to go to the store and buy brand names, whatever they want to do with it? Versus, okay, you're going to work for it, and okay, here you've earned $20 this week. Bank time, we're going to the bank on Saturday morning at 9, and 10% of that needs to go into the bank because you got to save.
So instilling some kind of financial.
Right. What do they do with their chore money?
So that's interesting. So they do save it. It's a mixture. They save some of it, but then there are things that, extra things that I'm not prepared to buy them because it isn't their birthday, for example. Silly things like my eldest wants to go to Tilly's because she saw a skirt that she liked. Well, she doesn't need that skirt, so I'm not going to buy that for her. So if she wants to use her chore money that she's earned to buy that, then that's up to her. But they are saving it as well. So it's interesting. It's kind of, it's almost, half of one and 6 of one and half a dozen of another as to whether, that kind of is creating a monster in itself or teaching them a bit of financial kind of know-how.
So it's good. I think good finance. I mean, there's no right or wrong reason.
Yeah.
I always tell people
No,
there's
it's interesting.
right formula to it.
Yeah.
But then just add in the component of, because there's a difference between needs and wants. Do you need that skirt? But sometimes it's good to splurge. But then if that's what it's for.
So that's what I said to her. I said, you don't need it. So I'm not buying that for you because you don't need it. And you question yourself, do you need it? And if so,
But in her mind, she'll go, yeah, I need it because my friends have that same skirt or something similar, or nobody has it yet, and I want to be the first one. So what is that setting up, right? What does that create? Whereas it's the expectation of, okay, we're going to take that and we're going to take a percentage, and you decide what that percentage is. Or if you do it on the point system, then it could be, we're going to Disney World at the end of the year if everybody gets so much.
She's funny because she's actually trying to save up for a Disney World pass or a Disneyland pass. I don't.
Oh,
she'll be saving for a while though because they are extortionate.
Yeah, they are very
but that's
expensive. But still, you could say I'll match it if you do so much or something. But I don't know. It depends on your household.
Yeah.
But
so
immediate gratification is what's happening with this generation. Everything is now.
Can I backtrack a little bit? Just because do you still do these? This was Point Loma, and it was the first time my kids had to make those decisions with mom and dad not in the picture at all.
Okay, so what are we? Okay,
so this is our
talk us through this.
This is college-bound Point Loma by the sea, where we worked with Point Loma, and our kids. They went for a week, and they were taught by professors, and then the second half of the day they were taught by our college-bound staff, and they lived in the res halls. This is my oldest son right there. They lived in the res halls, and the parents literally had to bring them to campus, had to set up their room so that they could see what that felt like.
Yeah.
And many of them were crying. They didn't want to leave them. And it's like just kind of getting the parent used to this is what's going to happen. It was, the College Bound Academy at Point Loma by the sea.
Wow. And Edward, did your son take part in that?
Both of them.
Both of them, yeah.
The first time they actually felt, I can't
can do
turn.
this.
I can't turn and ask mommy and daddy for something.
Right.
Like, I don't know these people. All that stuff.
Yeah, what impact does that have then on kids, being able to kind of have that taste of freedom?
Oh, a great impact, because mom and dad or grandma, whomever, has been telling them you're going to college, but now you're experiencing college.
Yeah, it's the reality.
The reality sets in that, like this professor, no, I think he was a provost or something. What was he? He was the director of the School of Nursing. But he came and he's singing to them with his guitar. It gave them an opportunity to see this is college life. I want this. So I've got to now start doing things. That's what the college tours do too. It exposes them.
What concerns do students have though? If they've been away to experience a bit of freedom, a bit of a college environment, are there any concerns? What do they say to you?
Well, at this one, we did not allow them to have cell phones. And
wow, how did that go down?
Major. Oh my word. The parents were panicking more so than the kids were. But we allowed them, you could use a staff member's phone to call your parents at any time. Because part of the challenge, even when we go on these tours, that we tell the kids now, okay, now you can use your cell phone because now they're taking pictures with their phones. Okay, fine. But if we catch you on your phone during when Dr. So-and-so or President so-and-so is speaking, I'm taking your phone. You're not getting it back until the end of the tour. Now, when we get back to the hotel, I'll allow you to call your parents and tell them what happened, right? But most times when a child is on the phone, we go, what are you doing? My mama called me. My daddy called me.
Oh, God,
hi.
really? So
yeah,
it's the parents.
so we tell parents.
Yeah.
So we get the phone and say, you just cost them their phone. Well, didn't we tell you you can call after 8 o'clock? Why are you doing this? So that was the big thing. But we do now allow them to take their cell phones. But this one, no cell phones. And I think it says that on there that
Wow.
they were not allowed to take.
You're hardcore.
I'll just add that was probably the first time my kids also broadened their sense of what education is, because it was the first time professors talked to them purely for an exchange of ideas. It wasn't it's due this date, and if you have these many points,
Right.
and they were kind of left like, it expanded their whole idea of what an educational environment is.
We didn't have video games, and when they came back to the res halls, they were doing homework. They were studying. We had even on our college tours, we have no issues on our college tours. The kids are wonderful. The parent is like, I just want to give you a heads up. She's not going to get up at 6. Yes, she is. We don't have any problems. The kids are up before us. They're eager to see it because a scholar, every time, if you keep the standard high, they will rise to the occasion every time. It's only when we as adults start lowering it. Well, it's okay that you wear sagging pants. I mean, everybody has piercings now, Dr. Willis. It's okay that they have
so just
things
like
on their
piece
face,
by piece.
piece by piece. And before you know it, here's the standard.
Tell me about your Scholarship Sunday. What's that?
So it's called Scholarship Sunday with Dr. Dari because people were saying, we're trying to get in touch with you. We can't get into your college-bound programs because if they're not in that district, they can't be in the program. And so I said, one of the things, let's use modern technology. And I'm not on Instagram. Well, I think I might have an Instagram account, but I'm old school, so I do Facebook.
Yeah.
So we have a College Bound Programs Facebook page, and I go live. It used to be at 4:30. We just changed it for the
So is this
year.
it? Is this what we're looking at now?
Yes, that's it right there. And I do it right there in my office.
Hey.
And we start off with parents, talking about parent tips and things that they can do to make sure their child gets into college. We review the A through G college requirements, and then we do the Paranopoly series where maybe there's an issue that's going on, so we tell them about that. This particular one, though, I did a tribute to my nephew Sean. That was just on Sunday, and of course everybody knows it was with Kobe Bryant's plane going down. So I actually did a moment of silence for them. And
that was nice.
Yeah, and the families, because I know the Bryant family is getting all the love, but there were seven other
tragic.
Seven other
that are absolutely devastated.
The Altabellis, what is the Chester family? It was a mom and daughter. Altabellis was a father's mother and daughter.
Yeah.
The pilot.
Yeah, of course, the pilot and the pilot's family.
Right. All of our thoughts and prayers.
One of the ladies, she died. She's left 3 children at home.
3 children. Mauser, I think, was her last name.
Yeah.
And just to kind of, focus on there. And then I talked about my nephew, Sean.
So tell me about Sean.
So Sean passed away suddenly April 26, 2019. He was 29 years old.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And it was real tragic. And he, I have a picture of him on the page. And he was not feeling well in March, just kind of feeling tired. Went to the doctors. They said he had bronchitis. They gave him medication, took him off. He worked at Amazon. And then he thought his wisdom teeth were coming in.
So is this Sean here?
That's Sean right there. Yeah. So they took him, he went back to the doctor, and they also said, okay, we're just going to give you stronger antibiotics. And So when he went to the dentist, they said, well, it's not your wisdom teeth. There's something going on. And you should probably see your doctor and maybe come see me. So he went back home, and that evening started throwing up blood.
So prior to this, he was a healthy 29-year-old.
Healthy 29-year-old, other than when the bronchitis started hitting. The doctors did not take any blood work. They just gave him the antibiotics and said, hey, you got this bronchitis. So long story short, he calls his girlfriend, and all of us were out of town. We were all out of town on our college tour. It was weird how everybody...
Where did Sean live?
In Manteca.
Okay.
And he's from Oakland, born and raised in Oakland, but he lives with my elder parents and his mom, who's disabled. And so he helped out a lot there. His girlfriend was 6 months pregnant with his unborn child. So he calls her, hey, I'm throwing up blood. Something's not right. She gets over there and says, Sean, there's too much blood. We've got to take you in. So he calls the ambulance. Ambulance comes and gets him. They check in about 1 o'clock to the Kaiser facility. And by 8:21, he was pronounced dead. And he was losing oxygen. He couldn't breathe. They never secured his airways. There was one doctor on duty. And she apologized. I'm sorry, I'm the only one on duty. I'll keep coming back checking. And by the time the main staff came in of changing of the guards, they went from the cannula to the oxygen mask. He was sweating so profusely, it kept slipping off, but they were trying to hold it. By then, my niece and others were there, my dad. They then said, okay, we're going to intubate you. And he said, whatever you have to do, I'm tired, I can't breathe. And he was a college-bound teacher too. And then about 30 minutes later, he said, hey, I thought they were going to intubate me. They haven't intubated me yet. And he had Blue Shield insurance. He didn't have Kaiser. They were so concerned about his insurance. They were supposed to transfer him to ICU or transfer him to a bigger hospital that had specialists. They said, well, we can't get a hold of Blue Shield. And I think that played a factor of them waiting, trying to find out about his insurance. But he had to ask a second time. I thought they were going to intubate me. I'm tired. I can't breathe. And they came in about 30 minutes later with the whole team then. And the anesthesiologist, thank God, that was a saving grace. They had him go out, had the family go out of the room, and they all said how much they loved him. And anesthesiologist was able to give him a shot that would put him to sleep. And then they come out. My niece said, she said, hey, this is taking too long. And they said, we're working on him. He coded. So what do you mean he coded? They said, and she, of course, they all burst in the room, in the emergency room, and the nurse was giving him compression. And they said, we went to put the tube in to intubate him, and his lungs were filled with blood. The tube was filled with blood. And he didn't make it. And when they went in, the nurse, and we were all on FaceTime watching this.
Oh, my word.
My mother.
Oh, gosh.
And all of my sisters, and we're all crying, and
terrible.
Breathe, Sean, breathe. And my niece said, they said 1 minute. And she said, I knew what that meant, that they had been working on him, and they only had 1 more minute.
Oh.
And we saw the blue gloves come off and said, he's gone. I'm sorry, I'm emotional. Because
I bet you are.
He didn't have to die that day, Claire. He didn't have to die that day. He was sepsis. But there was only one doctor on duty. And that doctor had to work the entire emergency room. And she said, and a nurse even said, I'm not leaving you. I'm not going to leave him because I don't like how he's being treated. And his girlfriend, 6 months pregnant, he never got to see his daughter. He never got to finish helping his mom, who's disabled, my parents who are elderly. And we don't want as a family, anybody to ever have to go through that. And we hear rumors that this hospital is understaffed. The staff even they went on strike. So if that's the case, then make them like an urgent care, and you can't go there past 5 o'clock.
So you feel that the lack of staff on that day
absolutely
were a contributing factor. Tell me about Sean's daughter.
Oh, she is so precious.
What's
her
her
name?
name?
Is Shawnice.
Oh, nice. After her daddy.
And we call her Baby Shawnee. And she looks like him.
Oh,
and
wow.
has his personality. And of course, she is the belle of the ball. Everybody loves Shawnice. And she's 6 months now. And, we have to tell her about her dad and how spectacular he was. But she's going to have whatever she needs. She's definitely going to college.
Well, that's a given.
And I want her to pledge my sorority, which is Alpha Kappa Alpha. Sorority, Pink and Green. But, it's a blessing because many people lose their child. He was my sister's only son, oldest child, only son. And then she has 2 daughters. But many people lose their child and they don't have a legacy to carry. Well, we have baby Shawnee. And I just think that's a blessing from God because his girlfriend Shania,
how is she doing?
Everybody has ups and downs, and the
being
plane
a new
crash,
mum and
right, losing her.
Yeah.
They were engaged. They were going to be married, and so it's very hard on her as well. But we're very supportive. We have a large family. Her mom is very supportive, and I believe that nothing is by coincidence. But the main message is no one should have to suffer through that. There's no way that someone should be checked into a hospital at 1 o'clock in the morning. You have 7 hours. And it came back saying he was sepsis and that they thought probable leukemia. But even with that, I said, you don't die of leukemia anymore if you catch it early enough. So even if that were the case, then we're the specialists. But that hospital was not equipped. And Kaiser is a they have a lot of money. But it's in a rural area. I don't know if you're familiar with Manteca. It's a rural area. Mm-hmm. But down the way, maybe 20 minutes away, is Modesto. It's a huge hospital with specialists in it. So we don't want any family to have to go through it. It is too painful. And when Kobe's plane went down the other day, it just triggered. I was in bed because I was just I had to make myself get up. Like, you're going to fight through this. My sister was just inconsolable and understanding. It just triggers every time a new death happens. So we have to stop this. And Kaiser has to know, all you have to do is get more staff. Get more staff so this won't happen to anybody else. It's not going to bring Sean back. He was a great photographer.
What was he like?
Oh my God, he was amazing. You could just see it in his smile, and he taught himself how to. What is that? Is that a ukulele?
I think, yeah. I was going to ask you. He looks like a ukulele.
He taught himself how to play the ukulele. Mm-hmm. He would write songs. He taught himself the piano. He was an artist. Yeah. He
talented
was an
musician.
Artist, the photographer work that he did, and he was a camp counselor prior to him working for Amazon. But he was a camp counselor for the Catholic, I want to say it's like Catholic Youth Organization. And they go into these camps and work with special students, or they would give Sean all the special students. And he would bring out, the best in them, and they would go hiking. He was a nature person. So if it rained, he'd go outside. He would set up the projector, and he would watch the movie outside because he was Mr. Nature.
Oh,
just a good guy, and he was here for a reason, and he touched so many people. But we're just trying to get justice for him.
Well, listen, good luck with that. He was obviously an incredible guy. I'm
Thank
so pleased
you.
that you've got a legacy in baby Shauna. And thank you so much for chatting with me about all the great stuff you're doing.
Anytime,
Thank you
Claire.
so much.
Thank
all
you
the
for
best.
having
Thanks,
us.
darling.
All right, take
Thank
care.
you.
God
And
bless
you.
you.